Pursuing Capital. Welcome. What's going on? You're now tuned in to Pursuing Capital. I am your co-host, Shan Dalton, and with me, I have none other than, let's hear those sirens, man. Dalton Rizme. What's going on, Dalton? How you feeling?
What's going on, Shan? Glad to be back here. Episode 2. Super excited. I think we have a lot of great topics.
Absolutely.
That a lot of people, a lot of our viewers are going to want to hear. And of course, we brought in a little bit of products here. So this is from one of our businesses. We'll talk a little bit about that during the podcast. And let's get started.
Absolutely, man. Right before we get started, Pursuing Capital, our intention and our focus is to talk about, founders, business owners, creators, artists, just to give you guys an inside scoop of the day-to-day lives and what it takes to take your dreams and goals and ambition to the next level. So without further ado, man, what should we start talking about here?
Oh, definitely. We're going to talk a little bit about the difference between, or actually what's better, between academic or practical experience.
Good topic.
I have a lot of both, and I always say this. I tell everybody this, that academic, just because you have a bachelor's degree or any kind of university degree, a master's degree, does not mean that you're going to be successful, and that does not mean that you're going to be able to build a business for yourself. Plenty of MBAs are working for other people. I know MBAs working at Starbucks too, so that doesn't really mean anything. So I'm just going to lead this one off, because I think this is super, super important.
Absolutely.
So I have a bachelor's degree. I have an honors Bachelor of Commerce from Lakehead University, majored in information systems. I have never had to use that degree in my entire life.
Exactly.
For no job that I've taken, I have never had to use that degree.
Exactly.
It's always been my practical experience, my knowledge, my ability to swim in deep water that has actually got me particular jobs. Like it's just work ethic. It hasn't been the degree at all. And honestly, that degree, what did I take from that? It just told me that I could commit to doing something for 4 years, that I could see something through from start to finish. I don't really think it provided me with any value. A lot of the value that I actually received in my life, like what I've done in the stock market, has been hugely, hugely successful. I had to do all that on myself.
Practical, basically.
Yeah, I had to get experience in the market. Then I had to go out and read a bunch of books. I spent like thousands of dollars reading every book on finance, market psychology, behavioral economics, anything I could find around market theory. I read it. I didn't just read the books about the stock market. I read about human psychology, behavioral economics. I read about everything.
Which in a way is very much academic, but it's something that you practically choose to do on your own rather than attend a 4-year education to determine what your level of success is going to be.
Exactly.
Right? And I feel like that's very important, even for me, growing up in a very cultured home, having the expectations of finishing a degree, and me being in a position where, I went to college right after high school, didn't really like it because my intuition always told me that I wanted to be out there in the real world, whether it was building capital or allocating capital into assets. Like it was something that was already within me. I just didn't understand it to an extent that I do now, right? So I felt like school and education was always a priority. It was the sort of the paper, I want to say paper that was going to determine if I was educated, smart, or successful or not. And it took a very long time for me to understand that none of that matters. I still know, like you said, I have friends that finish a 4-year degree and get into the real world and don't know what the hell they're doing, right?
Exactly.
Can't find a job, don't know how to apply for a job, don't know how to budget their expenses, don't know what to do with their money, right? So these are all issues. They don't even know how to use or build a credit, right? On all these issues, it's like, what's the point of actually going to a 4-year program when you're not going to learn all the real life sort of day-to-day activities that you need to learn to be successful, right? So a good topic. And what would you say, aside obviously reading the books, because I feel like being in the academic world for you, you kind of understood how important it was to educate yourself, right? So that's obviously a good incentive to have when you're going to school. Like you're learning how to do your chores. You're there, the teacher's telling you got to read chapters 1 to 5, right? Now it's like you want to read chapters 1 to 5 because if not, how are you going to educate yourself in the stock market, right?
Exactly that.
So what type of practicality did you start learning by yourself, and how did that benefit you for everything you're doing now?
I had to, there's nothing a 4-year university degree is going to do for you in the stock market. I think it's important to note this as well. I didn't need to go to university to do what I'm doing now. And this is a big thing here. Obviously, if you want to be a nurse, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be in a professional sort of designation job, you do need a bachelor's degree.
Absolutely.
But you don't need a bachelor's degree for a lot of other things that a lot of people do on the day-to-day.
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing after I actually got out of university is I had to actually learn the craft of the stock market. And the thing is you still, when you leave, in order to get licensed to, do certain things in financial services, sell mutual funds, sell insurance, advise on securities, there's various licenses that you need to pass. You need to pass the LLQP if you want to sell life insurance. You need to pass, the IFIC if you want to sell mutual funds. You need to, pass the CSC if you want to advise on securities in the stock market, right?
Exactly.
So regardless of what you do in university, you still have to go and pass all these individual tests that are actually geared towards the work that you're doing, right? So I had to go and do those, and then I also had to get into the market, and I had to manage my own portfolio, and not only that, I had to manage others' portfolio.
Absolutely.
So when I first started out and managing money, I convinced pretty much everybody in my family to allow me to manage their money. So all immediate family, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousin, everybody allowed me to manage their money. And that gave me a lot of experience. If anyone can just imagine, as you're watching this, would your whole family trust you to manage all their money, their retirement portfolios, all that stuff? Probably the answer is no.
That's true.
But yeah, I did that, and it gave me a whole lot of experience. And now that I've been doing this for over 5 years, now they trust me, and I was able to learn actually portfolio management theory through that, because again, even when you do the CSC, it doesn't really teach you how that works when you actually have someone's money that you're managing, right? Theory and actual practical experience are two extremely different things.
Absolutely.
Right? So I had to really learn that part of it and really dive in to really get that full understanding of what I was doing.
Well, in many ways, you can say your family's Warren Buffett.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah,
it's a very interesting topic, and I feel like it's very true. I still happen to meet people, especially when they're telling me they're going to school for a particular degree, and I always ask them what the reason behind it is for. And whenever I get the answer to make a lot of money, how much money, 100, 150,000, I try to explain to them you don't really need a 4-year degree to make that much money. Like you said, the best example to actually get a degree is if you want to do something that is a niche market, like if you want to be a nurse, if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, right? And even with that, like, you don't generally have to, that's where you also have to separate the employee and the business mindset. A lot of people that are going to school and finishing off their degree are doing this just so they can get a job. Right? It's like, so I can get a job. And it's like, why? So I can get a job. Like, what about, well, why don't you finish a degree so you can open a business in that criteria that you successfully finish 4 years of education on, right? So it's all determination at the end of the day, like who you are, what you go through, what your experience is. But I still feel like a lot of these institutions, and funny enough, my sister just graduated and she was telling me how they're introducing cryptocurrency as a course, which, rightfully should happen more, like the stock market, how to learn how to determine value in the stock market and the cryptocurrency market. Because, you have a lot of these, I'm pretty sure you have the same situation, if we're going to just talk about cryptocurrency really quickly, where a lot of people have lost 100% in the last month and a half. And it's like, why is that? Like, it's a very nascent asset class, obviously very new, but it's got a lot of upward potential in the future. But if you're in the market and you're losing 150%, it's because you're not educated. You're making the wrong decisions. You're buying something that's overvalued, or you're buying something where you don't know how to determine the value. So obviously you're going to suffer a loss like that, right? And that's where you're really good at. Like, I've noticed that even with your purchases of stocks, whether it's Airbnb, you don't get excited to a point where you're like, I want to buy this stock right now. You're always doing an analysis and determining, I will only make this purchase if it becomes maybe 10 cents of the dollar where it's currently worth right now. How do you go about finding these, these possibilities, or how do you determine the value of where you should be positioning your buy?
Right. So I developed this theory, and this is what I've run Banting Capital off of, and this is what helped me design portfolios, and also this is what led to the creation of my alt stock trading signals. So I developed this theory where I knew if I did 3 or 4 things, I could reduce all the risk in losing any amount of money over a 1 year period, 1 year plus. So I knew if I held for at least 1 year, I was going to make a lot of money. And all I had to do was focus on these 3 or 4 things. I focused on market share. I always thought to myself, why would you want to own a company in a particular industry that is not the dominant market leader? Right? Then I also said to myself, they also have to be extremely profitable. They have to have a profit margin where nothing can stop them. You know, a recession can't stop them. Losing a certain big customers can't stop them. And the real example is, I'll give an example here, is Facebook. Facebook has a 30% profit margin. They always have. And they are the market share leader in social media, right? Facebook has 2.7 billion monthly active users. That's a lot. And also whatever they have through Instagram as well. But last year, a lot of people boycotted Facebook. All the big guys, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Starbucks, all these big businesses refused to advertise on Facebook. Facebook had record profit last year in the middle of a pandemic with all of its biggest businesses withdrawing.
Well, what was the reason for that?
What was that boycott due to? I think certain handling of information. They were allowing certain information to get through, and they weren't blocking or censoring certain bits of information on their platform. And so I think that led to a boycott. But, you know, funny enough, the majority of Facebook's revenue comes from people who are small to medium businesses. So the big guys, large businesses don't really matter. They don't really factor into a lot of Facebook's revenue. So that didn't matter. And the pandemic hit. But when everybody went online, all that advertising dollars went to Facebook and Instagram because everybody was spending so much time on Facebook and Instagram. So look at it that way. So Facebook made record revenue last year and record profit margin with all of its big high profile customers leaving and in the middle of a pandemic. So these are the types of companies that you actually want to own.
Exactly.
And then I looked at the third thing I started to look at is I wanted to track insider trades, and I'll tell you why insider trades are important. So insider trades are they're what directors of the company do. So executives and directors and close family members of executives and directors. Those are called insiders of the corporation. So Mark Zuckerberg's wife would be insider of Facebook, and some of his close friends or brothers and sisters would be insiders of Facebook. So what's important with insider trades is insiders may sell for a bunch of reasons. They may, you may be an insider of Facebook and have shares that were valued at $18, and now you want to sell and make a whole bunch of money, and you want to buy a house or a fancy car or a Louis V bag or whatever it is, right? You want to sell to make a lot of money. So that's it. Insider sales are not that detrimental. People say, oh, if insider's selling, that means something must be wrong with the stock. It must be going down soon. No, not the case. They may sell for a bunch of reasons. They may need to fund something, right? But when insiders buy, they only buy for one reason, because you're thinking that the stock's going to go up and they're going to make money. So insiders are buying at market prices that you can buy at. That means that they're probably thinking they're going to make a lot of money on this over the next 6 to 12 plus months. So I focused on tracking that. And I realized that when I focused on profit margins, market share leaders, insiders were buying, I realized that this removed pretty much all the risk from being able to lose money. And I basically followed those companies around and tracked the hell out of them. I set up Google alerts too. So I'm not sure if anybody knows this, but google.ca/alerts, google.com/alerts is a great service. You can type in the company name, the stock name, and Google will send you an alert every day of everything that's said on the web of this company. So then I coupled it with that, and I got all the information daily, and I would just watch companies for 6 months at a time. And I realized at a certain point, I would be okay with the company. I liked all the news that was out there. They were profitable, market share leader, insider trades were looking good. And I just started buying those companies, and I made wild amounts of money.
Absolutely. You were looking for pretty much important catalysts that can make that impact, and you were looking for more than one identifier so that you can make your decision. So let's say, for example, you've named 3 main points to identify whether it's a buy or maybe a potential buy in the future.
Yep.
And if you get all 3 of those alerts with your research, you're like, okay, I'm going to make this position. I'm going to go all in. And I'm pretty sure as an investor, for me at least, when I'm whether it's allocating 100,000, 200,000, I'm always making sure that I'm able to like separate it. And this year I did exactly that. Even starting at 2019, I feel like it was my biggest payday, with working at MTFX and selling one of the properties that I bought in 2013. I kind of, since 2012, if you look at Canada, GTA specifically, the real estate market has doubled, a little more than double at this point, right? Yeah. So, at that time I felt like it was a good plan for me to exit, take some of that capital back, and then reinvest it into the real estate market, but not the entire amount, right? And from there, I did exactly what a lot of people talk about, diversification, right? Cryptocurrency, real estate, the stock market. These are the 3 main asset classes that I'm focusing on now. And then you've got entrepreneurship, right? So with that, we've got, obviously, if you guys are seeing what we have here, we're going to get into that. What are some other positions that you feel like can help diversification for a Canadian?
Being diversified, I think a lot of people hear about diversification in the news, diversification of asset classes. It's a big thing in the stock markets specifically. But I think you don't need to focus too much on diversification. I find when you make diversification a focus, you tend to become over diversified, and you tend to spread yourself a little bit too thin. So I think you focus on the one thing that I found very, very powerful is focusing on where you're strong. And I honestly feel incredibly diversified in the stock market because I'll tell you why. People are always like, oh, but what if it falls? I can profit going down too. I'm so good at this point that I have, my portfolio has insurance on it to the point where if it goes down, I'm still going to get paid. So I feel like if you're going to be diversified, at least educate yourself a little bit about a certain market. Like if you want to go into crypto or real estate, and make it, get educated about that market, and step in small before you just spread yourself too thin and I got a good chunk here, a good chunk here, a good chunk here. Try and start really small and maybe only diversify with another asset class, maybe one other.
Exactly.
Versus like 3 or 4 or 5.
Absolutely. And even for the 3 that I mentioned, that took me a good 7 years to get diversified into, right? So real estate was my first ever asset class that I purchased and got into. 2012, I was 21 years old. I think crypto we got into together around 2016. But you're absolutely right. The amount of work that I had to put into real estate and what I've learned in the last 6 to 7 years, I don't think I would have learned it any other way but to actually be in those projects, to actually learn the day-to-day and experience the losses, experience the traumatized experience that I'll get into. But you have to learn that when you're buying a property, it's fine. Whether you're purchasing that property for the first time ever in Canada, you get to benefit from a first-time home buyer benefit. You get to put 5% down on anything that's less than $1 million. So there's a lot of advantages. But once you start getting outside of the, buying your house for the first time, and you want to actually turn it into a business, and you want to get contractors involved, you want to get designers involved, you name it, you want to get the city involved, a lot of payments are going out. You don't know some of these people. So like if you're giving away 40, 50,000, what's the trust of them actually doing the job, right? So I feel like there's obviously a level of risk in the stock market as well. It's a little different. Companies can go bankrupt. Companies can vanish, especially when you're in the penny stock field, right?
Delisted, yep.
Delisted, exactly. But I think it's a great point, man. It's about owning in that first asset class and then learning whatever you can, identifying yourself in that business, and then moving on to the second one. Because if you're doing everything half-ass, you're going to lose a lot of your money.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So that's good, man. And
you want to? Why not? Let's get into this a little bit. We'll take a segue from our topics.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is our body cream. So this invention has been 7 months in the making.
7 months, yeah.
January?
Wow. January, yeah.
So this has been in the making for a long time, and this is a lot of hard work that actually went into this, and Improved Naturals.
See this in here?
And now we have an amazing product here.
Absolutely.
So our first, this took a lot of time. So a lot of supplier sourcing, a lot of packaging sourcing, a lot of ingredient sourcing, a lot of marketing dollars, a lot of upfront design costs, not only for the website, for the jars themselves.
Yeah.
And now we're here 7 months later, but to be honest, we wanted to quit this 100 times over.
100 times over. And on top of that, the funny thing is your girlfriend even mentioned this. Yeah. It's our 25th time saying that we were going to release this next week. Right. And there's always something that happens where you're not able to predict the time frame of when that could get completed. And I'll give you a quick example here. We finalized, there was one ingredient that we weren't too sure, and it was causing an issue that we didn't like. It wasn't anything bad, but if we're going to be very upfront, it was causing the cream to be a little too oily. Right. And because of that, Dalton had mentioned he wanted to change the ingredient. And at first I was a little skeptical because I fell in love with the cream. But after seeing the change of the ingredient, it made it 10, 15, 20 times even better. The smell was there. The touch was there. The rub, like the way that the cream rubs into your body and just, perfectly just like glides into your skin, right? It's a different feel altogether, and I'm glad we did that change, but that took at least a good 3 to 4 weeks, right? And you can't speed up a process like that.
You can't.
Because not only are we making the decision, but we generally send this to about 5 to 10 to 15 people to get their opinions, whether they're females or males, but they're the ones that are going to be using the product. So we kind of want to get their idea, get their opinion, get their feedback to see exactly if we're doing the right thing or not. And then on top of that, this box here that I'm going to put right in the center, Chris, any suggestions? He's just smiling in the back. All right, cool. So this box here is paper thin, so it's not looking the greatest, but this also took a little while because all the ingredients that we had to change, we had to kind of change on the box as well. So we're not able to order this box and have it on time, and then if the ingredient changes, then this box is going to be useless. So once we finalize this, you got to take in that box will take about 20 days to get shipped to us. So that's another waiting period that we have no control in whatsoever. So these are a lot of things that you're going to undergo and experience in businesses, but it's something that we're prepared for. We never experienced before, but now we understand it. And I guess it's just a part of life, man.
That's it. And yeah, we took the time and it turned out great. And because we took the extra time, the pre-sale for this went extremely well. So if you go to our website now, this is going to be sold out. We're sorry. It will be back. So after we get through with fulfilling all of these orders, there will be another launch, and we'll make sure to update everybody when that actually happens. And for anybody wondering, I do not buy body cream anymore. This is the body cream that I use now. I'm pretty sure Shan uses it as well. I do smell a little bit feminine, but I do still get compliments for wearing it out in public. So that's okay.
It smells amazing, man.
But yeah, and we started making this stuff. I started designing the cream and the textures and the smells and the ingredients in an all natural formula in my kitchen, and then as we scaled up for the pre-sale, we started to outsource. And so now this stuff is outsourced from a company out in Western Canada. So that actually produces it at the scale that we need. We need it to be at. So
because it makes sense. Like I understand how it was like the first 50 orders, for example. I know that it was it was still difficult. It's a lot. It's very time consuming, especially with Banting Court, with writing articles, blogs, having to attend to clients, having to work on the other two businesses that we have. You having to put 5, 6, 7 hours throughout the day for 3, 4 times a week. It could get pretty intense, and it's not a type of stress that I wanted you to carry anyway, right? So I'm really glad that we found that company. I feel like the higher we scale, once we get into the 10, 15, 20,000 in sales, our prices are going to go down for that as well. But it was definitely a decision we had to make, man, and I'm glad we did.
Absolutely.
Tell me about Strut the Butt Cream. I know I didn't really work on the name with you when you had introduced this cream and this company that you wanted to create with me. You had already come up with Improved Naturals, spelled MPRVE Naturals. So if you want to go ahead to our website, mprvenaturals.com. How did you get Improved Naturals, and how did you come up with Strut the Butt Cream?
All right.
I love that name, by the way.
So Improved Naturals came about, obviously this is an all natural cream. When you order, or for those that have already ordered, and when you get this in the mail, the ingredients that are on the box, you will be able to pronounce and understand everything that's in there. It is a very, very clever play at making an extremely luxurious cream out of all natural ingredients. And the improved part is, this is like skin food. Like this is what your skin actually needs. Like this will actually improve your skin. Obviously, all the ingredients that go into this are clinically proven to do everything that we said it is going to do, which is hydrate. It's a supreme hydration skin cream. It's filled with antioxidants. It will reduce the appearance of lines and stretch marks, and it will tighten your skin as well. So all the ingredients that go into that are clinically proven. And then we took it a step further by getting this stuff dermatologically tested. So we sent this to a number of dermatologists to get their opinion on the product. And we came back with, again, this takes several months. And they came back with the proper feedback that we were looking for. So that's kind of where the Improved Naturals came through. Is we wanted to be able to improve people's skin in an all natural formula.
Absolutely.
Like it's like I can't explain how good it feels when you see the box and you see the ingredients on the box and you know everything that's in there.
Exactly.
Just for anybody at home, just take a look at the back of your creams and tell me what the hell is in your cream.
Exactly.
You have no idea what those ingredients are. And some of those ingredients work for some people, and for others, they break out. A lot of people have certain allergies to a lot of mainstream cosmetic and cream products. And so we wanted to remove all that.
Exactly. And I feel like what you mentioned as far as the attributes and what it helps with, if you're pregnant, right? If you're having a child and you're in your second trimester, you're obviously going to stretch your stomach. So it's always nice to put this cream right around there once a day. Right? And even after your pregnancy, right? So you're going to see that there's going to be a lot of stretch marks if you've lost 30, 40, 50 pounds. For myself, for example, I had a growth spur. So I went from being 5'4" to 6'3" in one summer, right? So my back, because of that, has a lot of stretch marks. So when I add this on, you can see that there's a shine and the lines appear a lot less. And, it's too early, but I know that if I use it more often, you're going to start to see that disappearance. I can already tell, right? So there's so much more that we can obviously talk about here. There's fine lines, right? When you're getting to a certain age, it's very common, man. I feel like there's a lot of great benefits. Like you mentioned, the high antioxidants is what gets me. I feel like it's very important to internalize and externalize high antioxidants. Yep. It's very healthy for you. So it's good, man. I'm really happy with the the name really touched me. Improved Naturals, like you said, to improve a better lifestyle, to improve, just with the products that you're doing.
Hold on a second though.
Yeah.
I have to cut you off.
Yeah.
Didn't you hate Improved Naturals? Tell the truth. You hated that name when we first came out with that. You hated it. And I said it will grow on you. I said, man, this is gonna grow on you.
Here's the thing. I love the name Improve, right? I know there's one artist, I think it was Will Smith's son, Jayden Smith, who started a company called Misfits, and he spelled it MSFTS, right? And you would always bring that up, and I love Jayden Smith. I've been listening to him since I was like 14, 15. So then I'm like, okay, he spelled it MPRVE. My first thing is, like, when people are going to look at it and try to enunciate it, they're going to be Imprive, right? Like, but then you're like, no, it's not like that, bro. It's like, it means improve. It's just spelled differently. So like, after a couple of days, I was like, all right. I'm never like the type of person where it's like, you come and give me an idea. I'm like, no, I hate it. I don't want it. I'm like, let me sit with it. I don't like it right now. And I did say that. But after a while, I was like, okay, cool. People were like, when they would first look at it, it's like, what does it stand for? Improve. They're like, oh, okay. It's the same thing with Misfits. When you look at MSFTS, you're like, what does that stand for? And then you say the name and the brand gets more recognized. Everybody's going to call it Misfits, not MSFTS, right? So
that also gives it that sort of brand.
The uniqueness as well. Yeah, absolutely. You're right though, man. I even struck the butt cream. So I was just like, I'm like, we're not going to only use this for your butt. Even though a lot of females have I feel like females and males have majority of their stretch marks in their back, in their butt, and sometimes in their stomach area, depending on pregnancy or if a male eats too much rice.
Lower body stuff,
lower body, yeah. So I feel like the name is fitting, and on top of that, it's just beautiful, man. Like, I can't say anything that I dislike about it now. Like, I feel like we got it to a point, even with 7 months of work, where it's like, there aren't a lot of bad things that I'd say about this cream anymore. Like,
there's nothing bad about it.
There's nothing bad. I remember we would identify the bad so that we could make the cream better, right? And it was a very important process for us. Even I didn't even want to show the fucking first jar that we had, but it looked like a Dollarama cream, right? Like, and this is like, it's ceramic glass, right?
Yeah.
So even if you're knocking on this right next to the mic, you're going to see this is tough. It's tough, right? So, yeah, man, I'm really proud. I can't wait. Obviously, I'm seeing this to hit 10,000 in 1 month. Like, I want to be able to hit that stride, and that's the next goal, man. That's where I see ourselves going.
Well, we've already sold out of the first pre-sale, so we've hit 10% of that goal.
Yeah, exactly.
So far. So
exactly.
The next
1,000 is
order,
good.
I'm pretty optimistic for it. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, and it's tough because I remember even when we first ordered the jars, we got 1,000 in. I think it was 1,500, and that took about 2 to 3 months. So we had to make the decision of ordering another 10,000 jars ahead of that so that we won't have any of those delays, because a lot of companies go through this where you'll be sold out in less than a week, 2 weeks, especially if you're in online e-commerce, and your difficulty is getting the products from overseas and you're not really able to address your clients because of that delay. So those little things are very important when running a business, because you don't want that to impact your business and your margins, right? So
that all comes down to just-in-time inventory.
Exactly, which is very hard. It's practically impossible, especially during COVID, where
unless you're Walmart.
And that's the reason why they were able to keep their costs so low. They started doing things different. I remember maybe 15, 20 years ago, they decided to have their own warehouse, their own distribution line, their own logistic line, and from that, everything went down, right, in terms of cost. For us, think about it like this. We're a startup. We don't have a lot of resources to start with because it's a brand new business. So when we're contacting a wholesaler in China, in Korea, in India, wherever the case may be, we're placing these orders to start with, and we want to keep our costs low. We don't know if this is going to be something that we're going to order again. So we're not going to go out and order 25,000 pieces. So we ordered 1,000, which took about 2.5 months to come. And the reason why is they're sending these in like 40-foot shipping containers, and it's not only our order. right? So that whole entire shipping container needs to get completely filled out before it can go from China to Canada. And who knows how long that's going to take. It's not up to us. And for this case, it took 2.5 months, right? I think our first one came in less than a month, which was beautiful, but who knows what the third one is going to take, and we're not going to take that risk. And that's why we plan these things ahead, and we have determined to give ourselves 90 days at least before even making any decision, right?
So we will never be sold out again.
That's true. That's true. Absolutely. So I think we should be back live. I'm very, very confident that we should be back live with more products in the next 10 to 12 days maximum, right? That should be very exciting. Maybe we can do, why don't we do this? Anybody that's watching this right now and that sees this cream, whether you're a female or a male and you're very interested in this cream and you want it for free, either DM Dalton or myself, and we're going to ship it out to you guys. Just give us your address and we're shipping out 2 of these just for you guys. How does that sound, man? Is that fair?
There you go. That's fair, man.
That's because you're listening to the podcast for the last 35 minutes and I feel like it's owed.
There you go.
Oh man, so many topics, man. I really wanted to cover one thing, and I feel like it's a very important topic. And the reason why I was able to really connect with this over the last couple of weeks is because I understood that even when we were trying to open these businesses where we had to go and open a checking account, what was the first thing they checked? Our credit score, right? And I personally have always paid attention to my credit. My insurance is a different story. They won't even cover me my car insurance, by the way, guys. I was a reckless driver. I love that. Oh man, Chris with the background effects. It's amazing. But ever since I was 16, I knew that, real estate really caught my eye at a very young age. I was 16 when I told myself I wanted to buy my property ASAP. And I was lucky and fortunate enough to have a supporting mother that saw my vision and was able to help me with that. And at 21, I was able to do that, right? But if it wasn't for my credit being at 740 at the time, where I didn't even know what 740 meant, I just always paid my bills on time. I would have never been eligible to actually buy a property. And it really hurts me to bring this up, but like I have family members that have suffered through this type of experience where they've had 500, 550 as a credit score where they're not even able to buy a property or own a business or get a checking account because of that reason, right? So yeah, man, like how has that impacted you? Have you put that sort of focus, and what type of advice would you give to these youths that are in their 20s looking to build credit and how important that is?
Yeah, so I've always paid my bills on time too. I had an Air Miles credit card for a long time, and I upgraded it to I think I pay $120 a year, and now I get 1 Air Mile for every $10 spent on the card. So what I do is I always use the card everywhere, so I gain Air Miles everywhere, and then I just pay it off right away. Just clear it. So I was able to stack a lot of Air Miles. I think it comes into though you have to understand that you need to clock your spending. I think that's the most important thing. Only spend on what you need to spend. And I think here's the problem now. Social media has become such a big thing now that everybody is watching what everybody else has. Somebody will flash a Gucci shirt or a Louis Vuitton belt on Instagram, and everybody else feels like they need to get the same thing, and they're spending more than they can afford to spend. If you only make $600 a week and you're spending $600 on a Louis Vuitton belt, you're a fool.
Absolutely.
So I think everybody needs to really clock their spending. And that's hard to do. I feel like that's really hard for millennials because usually the vast majority of us are trying to keep up with somebody else.
Exactly.
I see somebody else has this, so I need that. Well, that person might make considerably more than you.
Exactly.
Double or triple what you make. They can afford it. So it's all relative.
You might just be on a different timeline too, right?
Exactly.
So their success could have been something that they've achieved in a time of 10 years where it's like you want the same success, but it's only your first year. So you can't compare your first year to somebody else's 10 year, right?
And so people are racking up their credit cards to try and achieve that, you know.
That's a whole different story, man. I feel like people are identifying success and happiness and just a state of well-being, a state of existing off of other people's social media presence. And I feel like that's very, very wrong. And it's creating a very bad I think just a psychology behind social media.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And when you use your credit card, it's very, very important to understand. Like if you use it in the way I do, you're going to get a lot of air miles and you'll be able to travel all around the world. And that credit card I have for $120 a year actually gets me access to like premium lounges around the world. So it's pretty cool too.
Okay,
something good to have if you're racking up air miles everywhere you go. But if you're not going to be, using a credit card and paying it off right away to build that credit or build points or air miles or whatever you're trying to do, all you're doing when you hold that balance there and you constantly build it up and make minimum payments on it is you're bringing your demand forward from the future. And then you're making minimum debt payments on that. So it's kind of like you bring demand forward and then you have less demand the further you go in life.
Exactly.
So the more demand that you bring forward on those credit cards, the less demand you're going to have for other goods and services in the future.
Absolutely.
And that's very, very important because a lot of people are bringing too much demand forward with their credit cards and then they can't afford to go out to eat anymore. They can't afford to go out for entertainment. They can't afford to get a car. They can't afford to get a house because they brought so much of that demand forward and now they're paying for it.
And not only that, they're by the same token, they're actually bringing up their debt ratio.
Yep.
So let's say, for example, you've got $50,000 in credit, right? Unused. Generally, the idea of you having good credit or trying to build your credit is obviously paying your bills on every month and not having more than 10, 15, 20% in debt. If you've got more than 60, 70, 80%, even if you're paying your monthly debt, your monthly bills, your debt ratio is very off and that's going to ruin your credit. So a lot of people are taking credit just to, if you don't have any money, and you're like, I'm going to buy this on credit. First of all, that's a big mistake. Don't ever do that. Right. And on top of that, there should be a rule that's applied. And like, this is a general rule that I feel like we both follow. And it's a 10% rule. If I'm making $50,000 a year, I'm not spending more than $5,000 a year on leisure. Right, forget my monthly expenses, my rent, the taxes that I have to pay. Like that's all called for, right? That's an expectation in this life, right? You need a roof over your head to live. You need to eat food. You need clothes. Be realistic about your clothes. If you're making $50,000 a year, there's no reason for you to buy a Louis Vuitton shirt. There's no reason at all for you to be spending $750. I've never done that in my entire fucking life, and until I get $10 to $20 million sitting in my fucking bank account, I'm not buying a Louis Vuitton shirt, man. I don't need to show anybody that I'm rich. Like, I don't care about that. Like, I don't need to post on my Instagram a new Mercedes or like make people feel less because they're driving a fucking Toyota. You know what I mean? That's not my purpose here. Like, but I feel like at the same time, it's an incentive. It's like a sales tactic for some of these people, especially in the new world of like multi-level networking and marketing. You're there and you're like, let me show the best lifestyle so the people that are less fortunate will want it and approach me to see how I got it. And then from there, I can introduce my business and get that sale, right? So, and people aren't aware of it.
That's exactly what's going on.
Chris, man, stay away from IG. But it's very sad, but it's the truth because I was in the same situation where there was, and I saw this happen. I remember this was last summer, and I'm not going to say no names, obviously, but we were like in Queen Street, 3-4 Lamborghinis pull up, and these like 19-year-old kids that are looking up to these guys are only looking up to these gentlemen because of their cars, not because of what they're teaching them and how to like define your decade. You're 18 now. If you do this for the next 10 years at 28, you can have this and more. No. See what I have. Look at what I'm driving. Take a fucking Snapchat and show it to your friends because I'm cool. And it's like, it's the wrong intentions. It's the wrong behavior. If you ever are 18, 19, 20, all the way to like 27, I feel like kids are still lost these days and 27 and it's life, man.
Yep.
Don't ever get excited or pulled in for the wrong intentions. And I feel like a lot of the times when it's material things, it's for the wrong intentions. I don't think it brings you happiness. I don't think it makes you a better person. I don't think it qualifies you to, know more things than anybody else. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, I just feel like I don't hurt anybody's feelings saying this, but it's true.
Definitely, we are going to hurt somebody's feelings. Yeah, but this is going to go up on social media, and as they say, there's so many people out there. You're bound to step on somebody's toes eventually, even if you're speaking absolute facts.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, you and I can certainly afford all the fancy things, fancy clothes. And I think we have a couple of fancy things, but they're not clothes. They're not clothes. Like I'm wearing a $20 t-shirt.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're wearing an affordable $20, $30 t-shirt, sweater as well. That spending on stuff that doesn't gain value is very silly. Spending on things that have the potential to gain in value tend to be very smart purchases.
Exactly.
The chain I'm wearing has doubled since I bought it, because gold doubled, and I bought it when gold's really cheap. So things like that make sense, but I feel like people will spend it, like going back to the designer, the Louis Vuitton $600 shirt. The second you walk out of Louis Vuitton, that just became a $100 shirt, if not less. And these types of things do nothing but take your money and reward you with stupidity. So you have to be aware for all these traps that are trying to take your wealth, when your money could be going to other things like supporting your own business, or getting a roof over your head, owning a real estate. These types of things actually matter. Investing in stocks so that you have wealth for tomorrow. These types of things are more important than spending $700 on a t-shirt, or spending $1,400 on a t-shirt and a belt. That is not going to get you anywhere in the long term, and you will suffer for it eventually.
Absolutely. You might get a couple of girls or males, like whatever your gender specification is, right? But that's really it. If you're looking for those compliments, if you're fishing for those compliments, I feel a little sorry for you. I feel like you can definitely change your reality by just understanding how much more your decade will look like if you're spending, whether it's $5,500 or $7,000 a year on things that are unwanted, or that you're never going to even keep in the next 2-3 years, on like Dalton mentioned, on assets that are not only going to compound, but it's something that's tangible and that you're able to hold for 10, 15, 20 years. And it's not like cash where there's inflation and you're losing 2-3-4% of it every year. Cash is still better than buying a Louis Vuitton shirt, in my opinion. So if you're going to hold the cash in your savings account, do that. That's a way better. That's a way. But like, I even hate that. Like, I'm not at a point where I'm able to say I have $1 million in my cash in my bank account right now, but I am
almost.
And it's like, I've got assets for sure. Right. And it's like, I don't even like seeing cash in my bank account. And I feel like it's because I'm always still thinking where it's like, if I have 25, 30, 40, 100,000, I want them to go into positions that's making me money, right? I want to look at that 100,000 and I'm like, in 10 years, that's going to be $1 million, but it needs to sit in that account where you want it to make that $1 million, right? Whether it's a stock portfolio, whether it's real estate, like you said, real estate has doubled over the last, even a lot of these stocks that we've
decade and a half for sure.
For sure. And like, think about when we got into Shopify. When you and I were looking at Shopify, it was at $106.
Yeah, I remember.
I bought about $10,000 worth at $106, bro. And what else? There was Kinaxis. That was at $60, $70. A huge technology company, right? Facebook was nothing. It was at like $30, $40 when in 2016, right? A lot of these companies that you talk about to this day, when we started, they were pennies on the dollar, right? So yeah, their history definitely, I feel like if you go and look at history and some of the wealthiest people, you start to notice these are the things that they do. They don't just have one income stream. They've got multiple income streams.
Good point. Yeah.
Multiple, like 7, 8 income streams, right? And I get it. I think we're on our fourth one. Like if we're looking at real estate, owning our businesses, stock market, the crypto market, that's fourth. And I'm very happy being there because I'm only 28, turning 29 in a month. Fuck. But, I know that I'll get to my 8, but it's like you said, it's very important for you to diversify, but at the same time, own and become really, really good at that one thing that you're getting yourself into. Because if I decided that I want to get to 8 different asset classes right now, I probably, would have not, I don't want to say failed, but I would have made more mistakes than I would have if I waited and perfected each one of them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just to make another point on that, Improve Naturals, so our skincare body cream business, this particular business, we didn't know much about this going in, and before we went in, we learned everything we needed to know about the market, what competitors do, how competitors set their pricing, what's actually in competitors' creams and all that, and if it actually works or not. And we really analyzed that market. But going in, we didn't know anything, so we had to learn it on the fly. And this right now is one of our highest earning businesses. So there's something to be said about that. That something that we didn't know much about before going in is now one of our highest earning businesses. That just tells people, if you're thinking about doing something that you've always wanted to do, but you feel like you don't know anything about that particular business or that particular industry, that doesn't mean that you can't be successful. Certain things are going to sell better than other things. So, I mean, you need to be sure to rewire your mind and put yourself in places where you have the best position to make money.
Exactly, man. You couldn't have said that any better, and I completely agree with everything you said. And on top of that, one thing to add is if you guys even look at the jar, the logo, the print, the label, nothing, in my opinion, that is out right now, whether it's Sephora, online e-commerces, they don't go the extra mile to make sure that everything looks and feels perfect, at least close to perfect, right? A lot of these businesses are like, okay, well, we've already got the brand, we've already got X amount of customers, who cares, right?
Big and sluggish.
Very, and it adds a lot of lazy, I want to say like attributes that are closer to being lazy, or just not really caring about your customer and giving them a plastic cover or like a logo that is a sticker, right? Like all that kind of, in my opinion,
we won't say the company name who's using cheap plastic that costs a matter of cents and plastic labels that bubble and ripple off. But for all the people out there that frequent Sephora, you probably know who this company is. We're not going to say the name. They are an all-natural competitor as well, but we don't want to get sued. Or maybe we should mention their name and they'll sue us and give us all kinds of free publicity. So
I want to do one thing here. I want to do a full frame of both me and Dalton here, and I want to open this jar here and try out the creams.
Okay, let's do it. Let's
smell the whole studio here.
Take off a couple things here.
Yeah. As you can see here, it's beautiful.
All right.
It smells so nice, bro. Oof.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. My Lord.
Oh, my God. It smells beautiful. I feel like I just smell glory. I smell success. I smell beauty. Like, this is redefining beauty, man. Yeah. I can't, and I'm not even saying this is because
I was
it's our product.
Already wearing this before I came here, so I'm just putting it on for a second time now.
Oh, this is beautiful, man.
I'm also wearing the face cream that we have, and that will be launching at the end of the summer.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be huge as well. And we've got a few more.
Couple of products later in the year, in the fall too. Yeah.
Exactly, man. I know we talked about doing a couple of other segments. We wanted to do maybe a 10-minute segment for Nova FX, talking about the type of industries, the businesses that Nova FX, foreign exchange and global payments, can help. And on top of that, we were going to do a very special 10-minute segment for Banting-Court Capital Management.
Ooh.
Where we do a little interesting show, overvalued, undervalued. That's where we're going to name it. And it's very simple, man. I'm going to go ahead and name a few stocks. Maybe you can give a one-liner talking about what you think about the stock, where you think it's sitting at, and then determining whether it's overvalued or undervalued.
Sure.
So for now, for this podcast, that concludes our topics for today. Obviously, for the time being, we're trying to make this where it's two business owners, two entrepreneurs, two good friends talking to each other back and forth and sort of discussing different ideas, different issues that I personally feel I would have loved to hear when I was 20. So, this is really important for me because I want to, impact and influence somebody that's out there 20 years old, not understanding where to put their money, wanting greatness, wanting to succeed, not wanting to be an employee for the rest of their lives, but at the same time, not having any skills. I think a podcast like this will really help you kind of understand what you need to do, where you need to be, and And yeah, we're really looking forward to that, man. I feel like we should wrap up the next couple of podcasts, just me and you together. And then maybe on our 5th podcast, we introduce somebody that can bring more light into some of the topics that we cover. Let's say, for example, real estate, get someone that's doing real estate wholesaling, how they make money in that sort of industry. Whether, it's something that I'm currently doing where it's like I buy a property that has hidden equity, right? And I pretty much go and find that equity, whether it's through renovations, whether it's through converting, whether it's through breaking down the whole property and building a new one, right? There's a lot of different possibilities in real estate, and it'll be nice to introduce more people in different areas. But yeah, man, why don't you do the outro for today?
All right.
Pursuing Capital.
Yeah, so we talked about a lot of good stuff here. I hope everybody really took in everything that we are saying. Sometimes, and I do find this with a lot of social media content, is when the more facts that you speak, the more real you get. The less views you tend to get. So I think it's true. If we start to flip that script and we start to tune more into business owners discussing how they launch products, and entrepreneurs talking about what you need to do to be successful, how to attack different asset classes. A lot of stuff that I spoke about today with Banting Court too was hugely beneficial to anybody interacting in stock markets. I think if we as a collective tune in to more this type of content and stay away from TikTok trends and stuff like that is just foolishness for views and entertainment, I think we can all elevate ourselves to get to where we want to be, because I don't think that there's anybody out there who doesn't want to be successful, who doesn't want to be wealthy, who doesn't want to have time on their side and not punch a 9 to 5 all the time. I think we all want to get to the point where we are there. And the way to do that is to listen to more type of content like Pursuing Capital. The stuff we're doing here is going to be hugely beneficial. That will actually elevate you there. Not that there's anything wrong with TikTok trends, but when you're spending 6 hours of your day there, that is a problem. You should be spending 6 hours of your day here.
That's it. And that's a wrap, guys. Thank you for tuning in. You were watching Pursuing Capital. Until next week. All right, round of applause. Let's go. Thank you, guys. Chasing Capital. Jeez.